A commemorative moment in recent history for me would be the terrorist attack on September 11th, 2001. I still remember exactly where I was when I heard the news about what had happened. I was in the 5th grade, and our class was just coming back from a computer lab. When we all walked into the room, our teacher, Miss Amick, told us all to sit down because she had some news to tell us. I can remember wondering what kind of news it must be for Miss Amick to look so upset. I actually thought that maybe a family member of hers had died. Miss Amick turned to the class and asked if we knew what the Twin Towers were. Most of the class did not know, and I was included in that portion. The boy beside me spoke up and asked, "Isn't it a big building?" And Miss Amick replied, "Let me explain." She walked over to the whiteboard and drew a picture of two long rectangles side by side. She explained that the towers were the biggest buildings in New York City. They each stood tall and were the same height, which was 110 stories high. Here's a picture of the towers. Then Miss Amick drew an airplane on the board and said that the breaking news was that an airplane had actually crashed into one of the towers. Here's a picture after the attack. Our class already knew that one of Miss Amick's biggest personality traits was how patriotic she was. Her classroom was always filled up with posters of America, eagles, red, white, and blue, posters similar to this picture. She actually even had more than one American flag hanging up around her room. She was always talking about our country and what it meant to be a free American. Also, how privileged we were to be able to go to a school in America. I instantly knew why Miss Amick was crying while she explained to our class what had happened. Another teacher stepped into the room at that time and told Miss Amick that the library had the news on if she wanted to bring her class. Of course, Miss Amick had us all lined up and walking toward the library in as little time as possible. When we walked into the librarian came over and told Miss Amick that the second tower had just been hit. The kids around me let out their breath and their eyes widened at the news. I kept my eyes on the TV screen as we got closer to the tables in front of it. I remember listening to the lady talk about how this was a terrorist attack and watching people jump out of the building windows. There was so much smoke, and I just couldn't believe that someone would purposely drive a plane into a building like that. Some parents actually were calling the school to get their children out early while this was going on. We all sat down and watched the news in the library for almost an hour. Then we went back to our classroom, and Miss Amick had us all make memorial posters for the towers and the lost people. Now that I am older and I know a lot more about the date and the attack, it is always strange to think back to the 5th grade when it all first happened. I was so young and did not fully understand a lot of the stuff that the news reporters were talking about. I will certainly never forget 9/11, and I really do not believe that anyone should let it slip to the back of their minds. It was definitely a defining time in our United States history that pulled us together as a country. It is so hard to believe that I'm a 19-year-old now, and the Twin Towers are in the middle school and high school history books for the next generation to read.